Welcome to the Shergroup podcast, where we share ideas on how to help businesses grow and prosper in the online world. Join host, Chief Shergroup Claire Sandbrook as she discusses her digital journey and how Shergroup is helping thousands to keep their business flowing and growing. Here on the Shergroup podcast.
So hello and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world, you're in a good place. And today I'm delighted to welcome a contact of mine, a friend of mine from the world credit community. And I'm going to be introducing Luis Eduardo Perez to you today. And you'll hear as our interview unfolds how Luis and I met and why we're working on a project at the moment. Before we get into that in-depth conversation, I'd just like to say hello to our number one fan, Rossi Saunders. Ross, you're 40 on Saturday, and I send you all our good wishes from Team Shergroup. I think Luis wants to give you a little hello as well.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you to all your staff and also all the people that is joining us through your very prestigious show. It is an honor for me to be here and send my regards to all the people that makes it possible. Thank you very much, Claire.
You're welcome. So are you in Mexico today, Luis?
Yes, well, I live in a small town close to Mexico City. Yes. It is named Cuernavaca. I'm sorry, it's a Mexican name. It's not easy to pronounce maybe, but Cuernavaca is a weekend city for people who's living in Mexico City. So it is pretty close, but we have better weather here and less traffic as well.
Oh, nice. Well, it's great to be talking to you from your part of the world. We haven't had a guest from Mexico before. And of course, our community across the world knows of Mexico and how it is, moving forward with its credit industry and offshore nearshoring for the United States. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. All right. So, well, you're a dyed-in-the-wool credit person. You've been involved in credit for a long time. How did you start in the credit industry, Luis?
Okay, my start, well, my father was a credit investigator many years ago. He was one of the pioneers in the credit investigation industry here in Mexico. On that time, he used to tell me stories about trying to visit a far community to start the credit investigations. Eventually, he has to use a horse. He used to ride a horse. And other times he used to cross a river in a small boat. And when he was working in the city, on that time we used to live in Mexico City, I used to accompany him to his work. So that is how I got related to the credit industry for the first time. I was a child, over six years old. So I remember that the first paragraphs that I read when I was starting to read was exactly information coming from public records. So he teach me to read by reading public records. About 10 years after that, I started my first job as an office boy in the same company. I was also a courier until I got my first job when I was over my 17 or 18 years old, also as a credit investigator. And later I became also a debt collector. Yes. Debt collector on that time where everybody was a door knocker. So my first job was both credit investigator and debt collector. So after that, when I was approximately 21 years old, I took a decision that changed my life. I decided to start and open a credit reporting agency. when I was 21, so I was very young. I was very ignorant in many senses, because this was the 1994 year that in Mexico was one of the most significant crisis in our financial crisis in our history. But at that time, I was really ignorant, so I had no idea. I didn't realize that it was very complicated moment. So I decided to go to the market on this time. Later, we include debt collection services. This company was called CEMEX, and together with my brother that joined me about a year after when I founded, together with my brother, we had active this company for over 10 years. Then eventually we left the business and we moved into the training market as a result of the learning that we have during that process. Many clients used to ask, hey guys, how do you do the credit analysis? How do you do your debt collections? Come and teach my people. Then we start to run our business in training as a result of that experience.
Great story. So starting at 6 years old and then ended up working with your brother and then moving into training from all you've learned. That's a terrific story. So how do you, I'm interested in this, how do you define the credit and collections industry? What does that mean to you from your vantage point?
Okay, that's a good question. It's not easy to define the job that we do, but I think that the credit and collection industry is, I remember a phrase that used to manage a good friend of me, maybe you, I think that you know him, is Abe Walkenberg. He used to define the credit as the lubricant that greases the wheels of the global economy. Civilization as a whole, as we know it now, it could not be formed without the credit, a big leap towards its own development without the existence of the credit, because the credit allowed the democratization of the capital. It was a tool that had on the beginning many purposes. For example, the credit allowed Christopher Columbus to cross the ocean, and also it allowed the great imperial developments and also the later libertarian movements. So the credit has allowed the large or small undertakings. You know, all the entrepreneurs has the necessity of confidence of people that owns the capital to make real their dreams. No? So I think that this have shaped our world. And also the main characteristic of the credit industry is that it has to be collected. So collections is part of the credit, but I think that the credit is it could be defined as the main lubricator of our global economy. Without credit, almost nothing is possible in terms of economy, and you and me knows that the economy moves everything around the world. Even these people that thinks that they never have used credit, they most of the times are wrong, because they don't understand that the credit is even when you go to a restaurant and you ask for a table, then you go and sit and wait for the menu, ask an order, eat your order, and then at the end of all this process, only if you have liquidity, then you can pay for the lunch. Yeah. So this is credit as well, because you know the credit is the exchange of some goods for the possibility to be paid. So when you go into a restaurant, they don't know if you have the possibility to pay until you do it. So basically, everybody uses credit at some point in his life.
Yes. Well, there must be some countries where it's not seen perhaps as sophisticated. Although I think the world is all catching up, and many of us are working on the same sort of platforms. and geography is really just it's all being diluted into a global system of credit. I completely agree with you. And in that regard, of course, you are the founder. I don't know if you see yourself as the founder, but you're the visionary for the World Credit Congress. And of course, that's how you and I met. And I think you saw our show, the TV show called The Bailiffs, and that must have resonated with your early days of your dad being a credit investigator and your own debt collection experience. And you called me up and said, could we have a conversation? And then you asked me if we would like to get involved with the Congress. So firstly, thank you for that, because it's a tremendous opportunity for Shergroup, and we are so looking forward to meeting, all your community who have taken part in the Congress and see it as such a great event. So tell me, how did you get the idea, and how did it all come together for you?
Okay, well, why to create a World Credit Congress? And I think that both credit and collections are activities that have also local and global impact, at the international level due to the characteristics of each market. The challenges faced by each one provide different answers to solve common problems. So, everybody around the world face similar problems, but they find different ways to face these challenges that the granting credit or debt collections represents. So there's differences in terms of how to approach the challenges of granting the credit or recovering assets are a very important source of knowledge. However, a few years ago, I remember that where there were only limited spaces for networking on our industry, and the exchange of this knowledge among credit industry professionals. Hence, we had the initiative to create a space where experience and best practices related to the industry could be shared.
Yes.
So, because I remember that when I say that time, I'm talking to you about 2005, 2006. So it's not too much. It's not a lot of time. But I remember that many of the industry events around the world were mostly coming from associations that organized their conventions for their own members. So they discuss basically topics where they all agreed, Yeah. So when we think in the possibility to have a World Credit Congress, we consider that could be very interesting for European people to know and understand how credit managers in Africa are managed their challenges, or for African credit managers, how Latin American credit managers or debt collector managers are managing their challenges. So the claim of the Congress is the future is now. So we try to create a future for them where in this future they can share this information. So that's the idea that makes this origin. I create the first World Credit Congress in Mexico City because we already have a previous event. We are organizing credit and collection conferences since 2003. So in 2007, we create the first World Credit Congress. But before of that, 2 years earlier, I started to travel across all over the world by visiting all these events. And one by one, I was extending an invitation to come and join us and create together. So I had the initiative, but to be honest, the founder is the whole industry, because on this first event, we received people coming from 42 different countries, and they were the real founders of the World Credit and Collection Congress.
Mm-hmm. You were the guy that started it. You were the guy that pulled it together. I know you're a modest chap, so you'll be thinking, well, yeah, it was the whole industry. But I think it takes an initiative like you did, and probably because you have travelled so extensively, right? that you were able to garner that level of support for this idea, which I think is fabulous and so necessary, because yes, different parts of the globe have quite distinct systems, and some people who you might think are leaders in the credit industry are actually trying to keep up. You know, I mean, Latin America is an emerging kind of powerhouse when it comes to building up its credit industry and supporting other countries with its know-how. So yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. Very interesting.
And you know, Claire, if you allow me one more comment on
yes,
that.
Of course.
There is a funny story that happened to me when I was for the first time in the FENCA World Congress. You know, the Federation of European National Collectors Association, every 2 years they organize a World Congress for debt collection agencies, so where they gather their members from basically from Europe and some other countries. On that time, they invite me to join the event, and also, if possible, bring a contingent from Latin American owners of debt collection agencies. I also invited a couple of friends that are managing debt collection software. So they decided to have a booth in the expo and make demos of their solutions. So when we were there, the debt collection owners of Europe came to the booth of these guys managing the software, and they were very surprised for the level of complexity of this software. And they say, I'm sorry, but we were thinking that in Latin America, as an emerging market, you were not able to develop easily this type of technology, because it's very comprehensive and very sophisticated. And then one of these guys asked, how is that you did that? And why? What's the motivation to have this complexity in your software? And I remember that one guy, the owners of that collection software was one from Colombia and the other from Mexico. And the guy from Mexico responds, it's easy to respond this question. Just come and try to collect money in Mexico, and you will see that you need a tool like this to do so.
Yeah,
that's the reason why, you know.
Yeah. Yes, there are places on the planet where it is a challenge to collect money, and maybe Mexico is one of them. You have the inside track on that. I can't say, but I can understand the answer. And yes, out of what's the saying? Necessity is the mother of invention. So Mexico has designed its software capability to fix the challenges that it has in its debt collection, I'm sure. And each country does that on its own level. I mean, I know you are a fan of the TV show, but you can see how we do it in the UK. And I can tell you that the comments we get on YouTube, when we put it on YouTube, yes, there's a broad spectrum of comments. And some people like it and some people don't, and everything in between. So yeah, every country has its challenge. So what is the key element of the credit industry in your view? What's the glue that keeps it all together? Do you think?
The key element of the industry. Well, I think that our economy is essentially optimistic, because it is based on the perspective of a better future. In order to make our predictions, we assume that tomorrow will be better than today, and the credit is an example of this. We grant credit because we think that it will be paid in the same way that we granted the credit. So we go to sleep thinking that tomorrow we will start a new day, for example. And this concept is very interesting because I had the opportunity to speak in China some years ago. And this concept in China is called lian. Lian, which is a Chinese word that means face. Face is the visible part that we have for other people to relate to us. To build a relation, the first thing that we have is our lien, our face. Also, we use this face to judge the people, or the people judge us also by looking at our face. So it is precisely the face that awakens the confidence, which is why it is a value to take care of. So you need to take care of your confidence, your prestige with the others by taking care on your lien. So the lien, that is to say, the confidence in tomorrow, is the main element of the credit. So we are stubborn optimistic. So if I have to say what is the key element of the credit, is the lien,
okay,
is the confidence, is the trust, and the optimism that we have that the clients will pay.
Yes, and of course there are tools now, software tools that can kind of emulate that lien and anticipate the return and the risk of granting credit. Of course, I have to say to you, if the confidence is upbeat in Mexico and the US, I'm afraid the UK I think is a bit gloomy at the moment. We've gone through the pandemic and come out the other side, and it's hit us hard. The Brits have taken that hard, and of course we've had a lot of political upheaval as well. So it will bounce back, but I don't think we're optimistic in the UK at the moment. I could be wrong. If you don't agree with me, put your comment on the YouTube show. But I'm glad Mexico is not in the same mindset. Now, I know that your company is involved in innovation, and we met up last week, and you were showing me an event that Crevolution had done, and I have to tell you, Luis, I was absolutely blown away. I have never seen a credit conference or event that was more like a pop concert. It was amazing. And so I want to put the link to that in the show notes for this interview, because I want people to see you and Crevolution in full flight around one of your events. It was absolutely stunning. And you know why it was stunning? Because it was nothing like going to a typical kind of credit convention that we've been to, both of us have been to. You totally deconstructed it and just made it really, really fascinating. And I think that's really important for young people who are getting into credit, making, like you have done and I have done, a career in credit. That it does have such a fascinating story, and it can be made to be so much more interesting and vibrant. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Well, you talk about Crevolution, and I think that I used to think years ago that sometimes we seem to be in a very boring industry, very financial.
I didn't comment on that.
Well, but people like you and others, for example, your show is an amazing way to show the complexity of our work and the relevant that it is, but it is not boring at all. I mean, I can see your show one after another, and have the same expectation that when you see a suspense show in Netflix, But I think that innovation is key on that. It's a different way to show the complexity and find solutions for our common problems, for our common challenges. When we create Revolution for the first time, we had a question in the air. So, I mean, the question was how we can enhance our industry to keep this path of professionalization, but more according to these times. I mean, we have to understand disruption as if you and me are together, sit in a table, and somebody comes and slam on the table, you know? So everything on the table goes to the air, and there is a mess. But on this mess, you need to create something new. But this is a challenge also, because you need to understand what are the key elements and then gather all together and try to create something that everybody understands and enjoys the process to learn. So innovation is part of our culture even before of Revolution. The company I run has two main brands. One of them is ICM, and the other is Revolution. The first is focused on providing training and consulting services for debt collection processes. And the second is a professional platform to networking and knowledge exchange for industry professionals from the financial credit industry. But it's based on innovation. What is new? So we have three action lines: the credit, the debt collection, and the financial innovation. So every year what we think is what is new and how it affects our industry. Yes. We work in a very dynamic sector that is constantly evolving. So it is greatly affected by any change that is generated in the economy, in the social environment, or in legal aspects, which makes our industry very sensitive. So we have realized that the financial industry needs to react to these changes and to find a way to make it on a very creative way, to creating different solutions. So Revolution is a very dynamic and very disruptive event, but when we are in the other division, which is ICM, we also challenge the industry. I remember when we published our first book, the name of the book was Assertive Negotiation, a New Way to Understand Debt Collections. So we set the debt collection dilemma from another perspective. Traditionally, the debt collection process used to be understood as something related with pressure and threat, to pressure the client, to threat him, and those were the tools. And even the technology were based on the same. So we find different creative technologies to keep the same principles, the pressure, So when you start to use the predictive dialer, so you start to push even faster than before, but you still keep pushing. So when we create this concept, it was one of our first and most relevant innovations, is that we set the debt collection in a different field. We say, this is a communication problem, and debt collection is not part of the financial aspect of the business. It's more in the customer service and sales promotion side. Yes. So we don't have debtors, we have clients, and the clients need to be supported to fix a problem. Debt collection is a problem for both, for debtor and for creditor. So the main job of a debt collection executive is not to collect the debt, is help the client to solve a problem. So he has to become an ally. So we perform a methodology by using tools coming from coaching, tools coming from now neurosciences, coming from customer services, to create this methodology that as the time has passed, we have been improving. So we create a set of methodologies completely different on what the market receives. And I think this is because I was formed more in skills related with human development as a coach, and it helped me to understand in a different way the industry. So innovation became naturally part of our spirit. So we have creative meetings almost every week. And the main objective of the creative meeting is to challenge our past version. So for example, we have a standard where we document all our tools, and at least twice per month, we gather the team and say, okay, what is new? How can we make obsolete our standard? Because we need to become it obsolete very soon. because there are a lot of tools.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to hear you talk about that and share that with us I'm sitting here thinking, oh, what innovation do I need to bring to bailiffs? What do I need to do? And we've done a lot. I mean, we've covered a lot over the years of innovation. I mean, before Shergroup came along, debtors were never, poor old debtors were never called up and encouraged to pay. They were just subjected to more visits, which is really don't want to be visiting people in their homes and businesses if we can avoid it. So we try and, bring ways to reach you more as debt collection as opposed to enforcement. And, we're on that spectrum, but, so we've introduced, I think we were the first people to introduce credit card payments and debit card payments, for debtors. And so I get the whole push for innovation. But I did think what I saw with Crevolution was another level. I don't know whether, I thought that was fantastic. And I hope that we can get the spirit of that and your experience into the World Credit Congress in Orlando in October 2024. I know you're part of the steering committee, but I think you've got such a unique take on, and maybe it's because you are in Mexico and you've got some autonomy down there around how you do this, but it's very innovative. And I'm just speaking as somebody that's worked in America, worked in the UK, looked at Europe, and I just love the vibe. So I think it's good, and that'll be good for credit managers and credit professionals to come and see some of that. So I know you're going to be at the event and be part of the event, but if you can somehow weave that into the program, it'd be fantastic. Okay, so we've established in this interview that you're a dyed-in-the-wool credit person, but you're an innovator. Now you're also a life coach. Is that right? You're coaching people. How does that role as a life coach, mentor, how does that link back to your actual job?
Well, I'm a life coach, but I also an advisor in corporate governance. I believe that these activities, especially the first one, the life coaching processes, are generally linked to any human activity, but particularly in our industry, this links to the specific needs that the human being has to communicate with others. So we have a lot of conversations in our industry for different purposes. So we have conversation, for example, when we speak to a debtor, when we have a request for a loan for a new client, also when we have the necessity to offer a new product to a new generation, like now the C generation or the millennials, they need to be communicated in a different way, So they are also there are also companies that need to communicate with their own people, with their own staff. So it necessarily requires tools that allow managers, for example, to have the possibility to interact, to reach agreements with their own staff. So this is a very human industry. Therefore, coaching has a place as a support tool for high-level leaders. Many of my clients ask me for processes to join their C-level directors in order to develop skills that may help them to manage the complexity, to manage the teams, to motivate the group. So what I do is basically sit in one-to-one sessions to follow the coaching methodology to help them to achieve the best version of their own selves in order to become these people that can manage that. On the other hand, this industry is made up of many companies that offer credit granting services, that are providers for credit grantors, debt collection owners. So the ecosystem also has a very important business culture, you know. Within this approach to business culture, talk about corporate governance, when at least in Latin American markets, this is still a challenge, you know, because many companies are reluctant to adopt the corporate governance tools. So what I found here is a blue ocean of possibilities. So I have interaction with some companies, helping them to develop and to build their corporate governance. I'm also independent member of the board of many companies, for example, credit insurance companies, debt collection companies, financial entities, because they all need to restructure and generate or improve their organizational culture by creating confidence to their stakeholders. And the main tool to do so is the corporate governance. So for both new professions that I have, there is a very fertile field in our industry, because I always used to say that the credit industry is the best industry to be whatever you want to be. You can be a good actor, you can be a good accountant, you can be a good seller, you can be also a life coach, and also to work in corporate governance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In corporate governance is where you can feed in those new ideas and really, you know, corporate governance is a tool. It's not, you know, it shouldn't be something that hems you into the point where you just become, you know, stagnant. It's something that needs to flex and be developed into a working environment. That's the way I've always looked at the law. It's the way I always look at corporate governance. It's not there to hem you in. It's there to guide you and make it work, and obviously stay within the, you know, within the framework of the governance, but be innovative all the time. And you are obviously a great example of somebody that does that and makes corporate governance be flexible and innovative.
But it's a challenge also, Claire. For example, when a company, a family business, for example, that is founded by the head of the family, many of these companies has the opportunity to grow. But there is a point when they have to need what is the next step, because if they find a good product that has a good space in the industry, not always the founders are the appropriate people to take this company to the next level. So this is the point where corporate governance makes sense, but the main challenge is the founder and the original creators of the business be able to understand that all the elements that took this to the present will not take them to the future. So they need to resign to the control of the company, you know, to the decisions. This is a challenge in many levels, even for the ego, even for the self-confidence. So this is a very interesting. You should make a program on that, something like the Succession TV show, but for debt collection industry.
I'll talk to my favorite producer, Andrew, and see if he can get Paramount Plus interested. I mean, Succession I love that TV show, and it's a very good example of how, unless you can future-proof your business and develop your business, you will be stuck with, you know, really somebody that's passed their sell-by date in the nicest possible way at the top of the tree, and everybody else is scrabbling for power, and it's not a healthy environment. It certainly wasn't on that TV show. It wasn't a healthy environment. Great TV though. So what do you think? I mean, you know, we've talked a lot about innovation and moving industry forward and kind of building an understanding of what is happening globally in credit. What do you think is the future of the credit industry from your perspective?
Okay, as we say in the World Credit Congress, the future is now.
Yeah.
There are many changes that are taking place as a result of this impressive advance in the development of technology that we have presently as a result of the pandemic. And there are several tools that affect our industry. Of course, there is the issue of the artificial intelligence, the IoT, the Internet of Things, or the development of natural language based in voice bots systems, for example.
Yeah.
So the future seems very challenging, but also at the same time, I think that it is very promising, because behind of the use of this technology, there is no doubt that there has to be a component of a strategy. We need to develop better strategies. I think that the future is coming, and for now, we can only glimpse a very small part. But I think that it will focus on three major elements. Of course, one of them is technology. We can talk a lot about technology, but let's consider this for the moment only as one of the elements that will be active in our near future. We need to understand and approach this technology. The other has to do with the strategy. I mean, perfecting ourselves in terms of how we are going to take advantage of and combine all these new resources that the technology will provide us to achieve better results. And the third element, I think that there is no doubt that is even the most relevant, and is the development of skills for the growth of our people. I mean, seeking their happiness and trying to help our staff to reach their level version. So we are now understanding that the job is not only a job, it's the life itself. We pass a lot of time into our jobs. So we recently have learned how to live during the job time. So we need to think in becoming even more sustainable companies. But when I say sustainable, I don't refer only to the environmental factors, but I mean also to the quality of life that we provide to our staff in general. Also, we need to increase our customer focus service providers, our customer focus culture. But also, I think that we need to give a priority to the well-being of the employees that are part of this industry. So, I mean, there is a lot of technology we need to understand, we need to take advantage. We will use the strategy to do a better use of this technology. Eventually, we will learn that. But the heart behind of all this is the people. They will be the ones that make it work. So I can see the future on these three lines: technology, strategy, and people.
Yes. Well, the technology, I don't know if it's a result of the pandemic or it was there anyway, and it was just waiting to hit our computers. But I know that AI, certainly in Shergroup, is making a significant impact in being able to get through research and content creation far quicker than we ever dreamt possible, and we are embracing that. But then it opens up the possibility of, and I was looking at this about 10 years ago with a lady called Pam Long, who's in my LinkedIn network. I don't know if she's in your network, but AI avatars and systems for people being able to speak to avatars as if they were a human, and that avatar doing that whole kind of customer service role. So they're taking the data through a predefined system, but it's looking like you're talking, and you're not embarrassed to contact the credit organisation that's running that. It's It's done in a very customer service centric way. And this must be, just human to human. It's just a more pleasant experience, even though you're trying to deal with something that's a little delicate around the collection of income. And then, also all the granting of credit, the processes for that, just taking people through that. So I think the innovation is huge, and the technology piece is huge. And then obviously the strategy piece is how do you make that technology human, human enough for somebody to want to engage with. Yeah, very interesting. So what about some final words then, for you? And obviously you want to encourage everyone that's watching this video to come to the World Credit Congress in October 2024 in Orlando. What is your hope for the 2024 Congress?
Well, I think that the 2024 Congress will be one huge opportunity to once again have the chance to exchange ideas with the international community of credit and collections. And also, as the host will be United States, there are a lot of things that you in this part of the world, as host of the conference may share with the world. I think this is a huge opportunity to do a benchmark, everybody at one place. I always think in the WCC as a window, but this is a magic window. When you need to see what's happening out, you go to the window and take a look. But this is a magic window because it's focused in credit and collection industry, and you can see practically what is happening all over the world. Yeah. So I think it is a fascinating opportunity. And another thing that is good of the conference is that every 2 years change of the continent. Every edition changing continent. So last occasion was before the pandemic in South Africa. So it was complicated for people from America goes and make the trip to South Africa. So this is an opportunity for people from this part of the world to come and join other internationals. In the United States is a country that has all that we need to make a real international event. So I think it's a good opportunity. And also, and the most relevant, it will be organized as a host for Shergroup team. So I think this is a warranty that this is top level of our industry, and everybody has to feel secure that they will have an amazing experience. And also it is Florida, so what can I say of Florida? It's also a nice opportunity to combine a personal vacation, bring the family, and enjoy an extraordinary week with you, with the staff, with the academic committee, and all the international personalities around the conference.
Yes, that's what we're building, and we've got some momentum going now because we have ACA International through as our key sponsor. I just want to give a shout out to Scott Purcell and Harry Strouser, who have been instrumental in helping the Congress achieve that key sponsorship. So for the American market, the leading institution is going to be sponsoring this event. So that's amazing. So thank you to everybody involved in that, and particularly Scott and Harry. Okay, Luis. Well, I'm sure we're going to have more interviews with you between now and October 2024, because we want to continue to get your wise wisdom into the Congress, and we want to really showcase you and Mexico as such an innovative environment for credit. And I'm on a learning curve with that, and I am really pleased to see how Mexico is taking a lead on this. I think it's fantastic. And of course, with the power of YouTube and the internet, we want to showcase you guys down there and show, North America, what's happening in South America, but also in Europe and Africa and Australia and the Far East. So lots and lots of opportunities to showcase great work. All right. Well, thank you so much, Luis, for your contribution today, and for the opportunity to host this terrific event. for the Congress. We are deeply flattered, and honestly, it's just a tremendous opportunity for Shergroup, who've been in this part of the industry, been in credit. Well, I've been in credit all my working life, and I've devoted a lot of time to it. So I'm deeply flattered and very enthusiastic about the whole deal. For everyone watching this show, I know there'll be many of you across the world because Luis himself has his own fan base. But there's Lewis's company, his website, ICMcredit.com. He's got his LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile. I'll put all of that in the show notes. So don't worry. And please connect with this guy. Tap into what him and his company are doing, see how that works for your own company and whether you can emulate what, ICM in Mexico is doing. Can you do that in your part of credit, in your part of the world? And, and don't be stuffy, if you're a manager now, take yourself back to when you were 20 and start thinking, what was I like as a 20-year-old and how was I learning? And people learn by YouTube now and online. So be innovative is my 2 pence for all of you credit professionals out there, because we've had fun building Shergroup and we want you to have fun building your company. So anyway, Luis, thank you so much for your time. And we'll talk again soon and we'll wrap it up for today. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Shergroupie podcast. To join our Shergroupie community, subscribe by going to our website at www.shergroup.com. Keep up with the latest Shergroup news across all our main channels, including YouTube, LinkedIn, and across all social media. Stay connected and begin building more business relationships.